what do I mean by rely solely on God, and what do I mean by God? Well, it's this recognition that everything we see out here in the world with our sense perceptions, such as sight, sound, taste, touch, feel, smell, all these senses that tell us about the world, it's this recognition that they're limited. They don't give us the full picture of what's happening here on the planet, in ourselves, in the world, in the universe, in the cosmos. So that's the first layer of it. The first layer is just the recognition that these sense perceptions that we have are limited. The second is that the nature of our lives seems to be transient. So, as we all know, everything changes. Everything is in constant flux. Everything is constantly changing. Every single second is an expression of this change, of this flux. So, this very transience, the very fact that things in the world, all things that we see, all things that we experience are constantly changing, brings this kind of element of everything is ephemeral. So, it being ephemeral, it kind of takes on this quality of transparency and lightness. That everything we see here isn't as solid as we think, isn't as certain as we think. And here it is again. So if nothing here is certain, everything is in constant flux and change, then what do we rely on? I would say this very question is really a fundamental question of a deep spiritual life, a deep contemplative life, that the whole journey in itself is the process of revealing to us in a greater, more precise and real way what it is that is reliable. So, if you take a moment right now and you really look at the picture that you're seeing, the picture of your life, the picture of the world, the picture of the room that you're in, and instead of having the sense of you know what it is, which that knowing tends to solidify things in their form, tends to kind of make things seem much more dense than they actually are. So just loosen those ideas about whatever you're seeing in front of you, here and now. And recognize that everything you are witness to, including your experience, is ephemeral. Which means that it's unreliable. Not that it's bad, not that it's good, not that it's wrong or right. None of that actually has any relevance to this. It's just saying that in a deep and fundamental way, we cannot trust or put our faith in, put our reliance in matter, into the physical senses, into what we can perceive and understand and achieve and grasp and have. So if this is the case, if this is actually the case, you have to really find out for yourself. But if this is the actual case, that everything here is ephemeral, everything here is transient, and is therefore ultimately unreliable because it changes, then that naturally begins to sink us down below our understanding and below our sense perceptions. It's as if the mind, for the first time maybe, recognizes that everywhere that it puts value, meaning, importance is just not so. And so it unhooks, unclenches its grasp on things and its view, and begins to sink underneath, beneath all of our sense perceptions. I don't know if you notice this, but just this act alone is the act, is the movement of quieting. Right? So our mind naturally gets quieter. That is because it's not relying on its busyness or its projected imagery to find value, meaning, and reliance, which is a movement outward. Right? You could say, like, if our brain was a projector, then it's projecting the world, projecting the picture, projecting value, projecting meaning, projecting all these things. And instead, we're basically questioning those projections and their validity. And in doing so, the mind retracts all of those, goes into itself, and then begins to even question itself. Question whatever it thinks about itself, whatever understanding, whatever concept begins to be loosened. So just continue to allow your mind to be loosened and softened in this way. And as you notice, your body may be getting more still, more quiet. It's as if the whole nervous system quiets down. The whole body is impacted and affected tremendously. So here's the answer. Here's our answer. What's reliable? If nothing out here is reliable, then what? When we ask this question, and we actually go into the experiential sense of the question itself, the question itself has the capacity to quiet things. And the quieting is the movement inward into, or the place from which our thoughts, our mind comes. And this quietude has a incredible precision to it, incredible clarity to it, an incredible steadfastness, steadiness, stillness. You could say it's unmovable. You could say it's unchanging. That which you can't touch, that which you can't see, that which you can't name, is this changeless, timeless domain. And the fascinating thing is that it's actually more fine, more subtle, more quiet than experience. So that means that as we inquire in this way and we feel into how unreliable the whole picture is, that we come upon this quiet which just continues to make everything quieter, which just continues to grow in us. So it has a profound impact on experience. It has a profound impact on our experience, right? Because our whole systems get quieter, our minds get quieter. There's also a precision, there's a feel of brilliance in it, an intelligence, a kind of spontaneous intelligence. It has nothing to do with efforting from the mind, but just this kind of natural, free, simple, quiet intelligence. And it's as if we're being drawn deep, deep in, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in. And what we're being drawn to is actually beyond experience. It's quieter than experience, although we know it's there in part by our experience. That means that as we sink down in this way, we feel the effect that it has on our bodies, on our minds, on our system, on our perception, and therefore our life. When we consider that this presence, this quiet presence that is drawing us in, is subtler, quieter than experience itself, it just continues to draw us deeper and deeper down into its core. And this brings up the same point that I started with, that our sense perceptions aren't entirely reliable either. So therefore experience itself isn't entirely reliable either. Right? So in this way we continue to look to something that's quieter and quieter and quieter, and therefore making us more quiet. See, from this space of quietude, even the question of what's reliable here becomes irrelevant. Because it's as if we come not only in contact with what is, we become what is. We become what we already are. And all that is saying is that the mind is so used to living in its abstractions that it's seldom present as it is. And so what begins to happen here is that your sense of yourself begins to be swallowed whole. Your rigid sense of yourself dissolves to some measure, to some degree. And in its dissolution, this quiet takes over. So naturally, what's the question about what's reliable here quiets, and you just are what you are. So you're not even separate from what you're relying on any longer, right? Because there has to be a you, a subject, the thing about reliance, and then an object that it relies on. So it's as if this quietude draws in the subject into itself. And the question of reliance becomes irrelevant. Because you just are. Life just is. And this is the place that's closer than trust. This is the place of certainty, of confidence, of assurance, right? So reliability then turns to assured, certain, steady, knowing that God is, simplicity is, quiet is, life is. You are, I am. And as this quiet presents itself in your experience, keep giving yourself to it, because there's much here we still hold on to. No matter how full our experience of quiet may be, there's much that we hold back. And this is really coming in contact with our divine nature. This is really opening ourselves to what we are and being guided, being had, being given to this divine presence. Thanks for joining me today.